You're listening to Live and Local with Kevin Wall on AM 670 KMZQ. Talk radio done right.
It is Wednesday. It's Hump Day. Good to have you with us on Live and Local. So good to have you with us. Joining us now, as she does every Wednesday, Marla Letitia, a.k.a. Nanny Bubby, the founder of the Long Life Era community. We got off track for a few weeks talking about what's been going on in the Middle East, but she is back with us talking about the Long Life Era community. And Marla, first of all, it's always good to have you on. Thank
you.
I think the last time we talked about this, we were talking about that Live to 100 Secrets of the Blue Zones, the number one Netflix series. Can you talk a little bit about the Blue Zones and kind of bring us up to speed from the last time we talked?
Yes, but before I talk about my interest, I just want to talk about you and yours, and I just want to, on behalf of the entire Jewish community, I want to thank you so much for the time that you have given to the topic of the terrorist attack on Israel, and I also want to promote that the interview that you did yesterday with Shelley Berkeley was over the top fantastic. And I just want to say they can find that interview that you did on Shelley Berkeley for Mayor Facebook page. And I just want to tell you thank you from an entire community for your love and compassion that you have shown to all of us. And so, that being said...
Thank you. Thank you.
You are very good.
Bring us up to speed on that Netflix series, which I think is just fascinating.
Thank you. So, yes, there are 5 organic blue zones that are on the planet. And this Netflix series went through every city that is a part of the blue zones or that are categorized as blue zones. And the way that they have categorized it is a blue zone is, as defined by the author, are areas of the world who have the largest populations of people who live 100 years or more. And so they are Okinawa, Japan, Sardinia, Italy, Ikaria, Greece, Nicoya, Costa Rica, and then, of course, there's always the question, are there any in the United States of America? And there actually are, and that is Loma Linda, California. There's one engineered city where it has been intentionally engineered to be a blue zone, and that is Singapore. And we'll talk about that as we get all the way to the end of defining what the series teaches us.
So explain what a how the blue zone works. Are there any common denominators in all these different communities all over the world? Are there any common denominators that we find in these cities, in these communities?
Well, actually, number one, activity is definitely like the number one thing that is like a common thread. And as we get to defining each city and what is there, we'll talk about, all of the common threads that they have. And so in Okinawa, they garden a lot. So there's the constant movement of bending over, bending down, getting up, there. But in Sardinia, which is where we are right now, and also the eating of medicinal foods by all of these different populations. But in Sardinia, one of the things and the activity that contributes to their longevity, and one of the things that is noted by the author, is that the steeper your village, which is not the case with Okinawa, because Okinawa is a seaside town, so there's not a lot of hills like there is in a mountain village like Sardinia is. But the steepness of the village contributes to the longevity, and why? So there was a woman that he interviewed who was 97 years old, And he asked her, because he knew the answer, he said, so I'm told that you go to church every single morning. And she says, yes, I do. And he notes to the audience who is watching is that the miraculous thing about that is that she walks to church every morning at like a 12% incline from her home up the hills to her church and then walks down. And by the way, those are on cobblestone streets and sidewalks, not, paved perfectly like what we have. And that is really one of the things that contributes. And also, most medical doctors will tell you that it is the downward stepping that actually builds your core, not the up stepping. So if you see people do a lot of step work, they're always going up, but it's mostly the up work that they're doing. It's the downward stroke that's really necessary to build that core so that you don't fall on that downward stroke.
I know Marla Letitia joining us, a.k.a. Nanny Bubby. We're talking about the blue zones from that Netflix special that I think is phenomenal. Is diet a part of what we're talking about here? For instance, what do people in Sardinia eat?
Right. I think this is so fascinating. And I just want to add one little extra thing about, the negative side of the American activity level is that natural exercise is a part of that common thread that you just asked about between all of these blue zones. But in America, our prolonged inactivity increases our risk for diabetes and heart disease. And that cuts our lives short because those that live longer have a long health span, and that creates a longer lifespan, right? So what do they eat? So everything that is eaten in these different cities is nutritionally dense foods. And this is something that we need to focus on in America, not only for those living in their long life era, but even for the children of America. They need to be given as snacks nutritionally dense foods. And that is, those things that are like fruit. If it is packaged and in a bag, it is calories without nutrition. That's the long and short of it. And in America, they always say, shop the perimeters of the grocery store. But if you're eating anything or your children are eating anything that come in a bag, there is calories without nutrition. And that contributes to obesity in later years. And so what they're eating is, in Sardinia specific, are simple carbs that are prepared with sautéing or steaming. They eat sourdough bread. So a lot can be said about gluten intolerance, but sourdough bread has a much lower gluten level to it, and it has a vitamin nutrition to it that other breads do not. They eat minestrone soup, which is given to them, or made from all of the things that you find outside your garden. So herbs, vegetables, and most of these blue zones are eating very small protein and large vegetables. So I'm a big protein eater. I think I need to reevaluate that a little bit. But for me, I feel like I require a lot more protein. But it's mostly vegetables and fruits. Yeah.
I want to ask you
and
about
wine. Wine. Can I just say the last thing about Sardinia and the wine? I'm so sorry, Kevin, but you'll love this. In the wine in Sardinia just comes right from the earth, and they actually ferment it in deep vats below the ground level. And honestly, if you watch this series, you will, when you see that wine being made, you literally want to jump in the screen and drink it. It just looks so amazing because they're really just drinking the earth. It's magnificent. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. But I want to talk about something we have not talked about that's all around us. All you got to do is just turn on cable news and the stress level goes up and up and up. Talk a little bit about stress and purpose, how they figure into longevity.
So in Sardinia, the women all cook and the men are sheep herders. and they literally go outside and they focus on the earth and moving the animals, and they are away from actual stress. And so the stress level in Sardinia is the lowest stress level of any of the blue zones. And the purpose, and some of these sheep herders, which is just magnificent to see in the Netflix series, is that some of them are like 97, 98. They have been herding sheep, and some of them don't do it anymore as a profession, but they do it as a way to exercise and to connect to both the earth and to the animals. And so, look, you and I are not going to buy any sheep and walk them up and down our streets where we live, right?
I don't think so. My HOA would not be crazy.
They throw me out too. But one thing, and we know this from, bringing dogs into facilities where people are not well, or some of the aging facilities, when you bring a dog in, it lowers their stress, it lowers their blood pressure. And so I would say for us here in America that having a dog or two dogs and being forced in a way, because you want to care for them in the best way you can, to take them out and walk with them. It gives you fresh air. It gives you vitamin D. It lowers your blood pressure. And these are the things that we can adapt to what Sardinia is doing. And I want to say this last thing is that we hear, I think I've said this once before, but it's certainly worth repeating, Kevin, is that we hear that men do not live as long as women. And we hear this over and over and over again. And in the short term, that may be true, meaning that, if a man has not taken care of himself, and a woman who is, eating the same as him, et cetera, and not taking care of herself as well, chances are he will meet his death before the woman does with the same habits, right? But those men that and I love men, so I really want to help them take good care of themselves, right? And that is that if you take care of yourself and you engage in the proper activity and eating habits and watch your health span and all your monikers of what that looks like, that once you hit over that 100 centenarian mark, there are equal men to women. It is 1 for 1. And so that is one of the things that we need to say to men is that I know you've heard you die first, but you really don't, because those that make it to over 100, there is equal men to women, and that is definitely the case in Sardinia.
Marla, in our final 30 seconds, how can people find out more about the Long Life Era community?
I love that you asked this question because I'm so engaged in giving the information, I completely forget about that. So thank you so much for asking that. So they can go onto Facebook and ask to join Long Life Era community. Right now we are engaging in the 5-day exercise challenge, and there's so much talk and pictures. I mean, there are over 300 people that are now a part of the group in just 5 months, and this is a private group. So this has organically grown over the last 5 months. I think when I started here, there were only 60 people in the group, and now we're well over 300, and we would invite everybody to go to Long Life Era Community Facebook group, ask to join, and become a part of the conversation.
Marla, have a great rest of your week. We'll talk to you again next Wednesday. How about it?
Thank you. I love it, Kevin. Thank you so much for all that you do for the community.
Marla Letitia, the founder of the Long Life Era community. Check it out. And check out that Netflix show, Live to 100, Secrets of the Blue Zones. Stick around. More to do as we continue on this Wednesday, this hump day on AM 670 KMZQ.